Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Chicago's online worship. I am Monica Kling-Garcia, your Schug Ministerial intern, and I am so glad to welcome you to worship this morning. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions, bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but the values we share, and the mission to grow our soul and heal the world. Whether you are joining us online for the first time, or you've worshiped with us thousands of times, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. No matter how much money is in your pocket, no matter if you have a PhD, a GED, or no degree, you belong here. We are a people of many races and beliefs. We are a people of many genders and sexual orientations. All of you is sacred. All of you is welcome. You belong here. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, we must distance ourselves physically, but we can stay connected. In addition to our weekly worship on our YouTube channel, come and follow us on our Facebook page for additional content. We have several small groups meeting by phone and Zoom video conferencing for both connection and church business. To get involved, check your weekly email blast or email the church office for more information. Our contact information is on our website. If the economic hardships of the coronavirus are affecting you, the church is at your side. Our ministers can refer you to resources as well as offer one-time grants from the Minister's Discretionary Fund for the members and friends of this congregation. For more information, just contact the church office to be in touch with Reverend Teri or Reverend David. Throughout today's service, you can interact with one another throughout the comments section. Simply log into your account or create a new YouTube account to leave comments, reactions, and to share prayer requests throughout the service. I invite you now to be present to this moment. Let us enter into this service together as our prelude begins.
We plow and sow, we are so low that we delve in the dirty clay, till we bless the plain with golden grain and the vale with the fragrant hay. Our place we know, we are so low down at the landlord's feet. We're not too low the bread to grow, but too low the bread to eat. We're low, we are so low, yet from our fingers glide the silken flow and the robes that glow round the limbs of the sons of pride. And what we get and what we give, we know, and we know our share. We're not too low the cloth to weave, but too low the cloth to wear. Down, down we go, we are so low to the hell of the deep sunk mine. But we gather the proudest gems that glow when the crown of the despot shines. Whenever he lacks upon our backs fresh loads he deigns to lay, we're far too low to vote the tax, but not too low to pay. We're low as as to war we go to fight some foreign country. That was yesterday our greatest friend, but today's our enemy. God bless our boys, the papers scream, praise them, the churchmen cry. When the war is won and home we come, who cares if we live or die? We're low, so low into boats we go to flee war in our home country. And we'll try to make a better life when we land across the sea. But it's send them back, the press cries out, back to where they came. We're far too low to feed and clothe, but not too low to blame. We are so low, but soon we know that the low folk will arise. The tyrants in their towers of gold shall hear the people's cries. No more shall they hold us in thrall, their lies we will not heed. But every heart shall hear the call, and the people will be free.
Our opening words are adapted from We Labor in Love by Amanda Udis Kessler. On Labor Day, we honor our work, physical and mental, paid and unpaid, joyous and heartbreaking. We give thanks for work's gifts, suffer its difficulties, and strive to make labor just and joyous for all. Our work can build our society, provide for our material needs, and give our life meaning. Yet, our work can damage our society and the planet, fail to sustain our material needs, and be meaningless. Our work can heal the world, help us understand who we are, and keep us safe. Yet, our work can harm the world, demean us, and expose us to danger. Our work can fill our days with accomplishments and our lives with stories. Yet our work can dissatisfy and alienate us. We may not be able to find enough work or any work. May we join together to create work that is safe and humane, that supports the well-being of all, that blesses us, all people, and the planet. We light our chalice this morning that this Labor Day and all Labor Days to come, may our work and all work serve humanity and all living beings. I invite you now to join in the reciting of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you now to greet one another warmly in the chat box of friendship.
Let us start our time for prayer and meditation with a centering breath. In a world that often feels like we are on a seesaw or a roller coaster, we give thanks for our centering breaths. There is much that is happening in our country. After Jacob Blake's family led a peaceful gathering in Kenosha, Trump arrived and praised the law enforcement just 3 days later. After NBA players went on strike nationwide, the special session on police brutality called by Wisconsin's governor was opened and closed by Republican lawmakers in less than 30 seconds. COVID-19 has shown the gaps and the inequalities, the ways that the scales tip in favor of those in power. We lift up in gratitude those who stand for justice and do all they can to push the scales back into balance. As we approach Labor Day, we hold in our hearts as a community all of the workers who are essential, the workers in low-paying jobs, the workers who are forced to work during this pandemic. May we, as a community, have the courage to live out our principles and support those who are affected by wealth inequality, the wealth inequality of this pandemic, the unemployed, those who hand us our groceries, who drive us, who make us food, who care for us. May we care for them. In this community, we gather to care for and support each other, even though we are physically apart. Even with our nation struggling, we gather here together. And it is here in this church community that we are strong, we are safe, we are loved by one another. We extend this love to some specific members and friends of our church community this morning. To Joan and Chuck Staples, who joyfully celebrated their 57th wedding anniversary. To the Moss family. To Mary Lee Greenlee and her family. To Cindy Pardo, who is starting a long road of recovery following her intensive surgery. May they all feel the love and the prayers of this community. I now invite you to enter into our chat box those who you wish to feel the love, the strength, and the support of this community.
I want you to know that you are strong, that you are safe, that you are loved. I want you to know how much I love you, how much you mean to me. No matter how far apart we are, no matter what happens to us, you will always be right here with me, here in my heart. I want you to know that you are strong, that you are safe, that you are loved. I want you to know how much I love you, how much you mean to me. No matter how far apart we are, no matter what happens to us, you will always be right here with me, here in my heart. I want you to know that you are strong, that you are safe, that you are loved. I want you to know how much I love you, how much you mean to me. No matter how far apart we are, no matter what happens to us, you will always be right here with me, here in my heart.
Just about 30 years ago, a diverse group of Chicago religious leaders looked for ways to address systemic poverty in Chicago. With shared beliefs in the dignity of all workers, they formed Arise Chicago. Arise has produced the first workers' rights manual in Spanish, English, and Polish, opened a workers' center in 2002, partnered with nearly 4,000 workers to recover more than $6.3 million in stolen wages, and has worked to end workplace harassment and discrimination through public policy. Arise is currently working for Chicago to implement a COVID-19 emergency paid leave ordinance so workers can quarantine when they're ill, for their safety, for their families' safeties, and the safety of our broader community. On this Labor Day Sunday here at First Unitarian, we are joining with faith communities around Chicagoland to partner with Arise in advocating for workers' rights amidst the global pandemic. With gratitude, I welcome Arise Chicago's Executive Director, the Reverend C.J. Hawking, to tell us more.
Hi, I'm Reverend C.J. Hawking, Executive Director of Arise Chicago. Arise Chicago is a 29-year-old organization founded by the faith community to advance workers' rights. The last 6 months of the global pandemic have revealed a lot about workers who are truly essential to making our lives work. From farm workers to delivery workers, nursing home workers, elder care workers, food production workers, the list goes on. The veil has been lifted as now we see what it takes to keep the rest of us fed and healthy and content. The veil has been lifted as now we see the harsh realities that many essential workers faced for years. Wages below poverty line, no health care, no benefits like paid sick days or paid vacation days, and harsh safety conditions even before the pandemic. The veil has been lifted for all to see the stark economic and healthcare inequities endured by Black and Latino workers, as the deaths in these communities are far outpacing the deaths in white communities. As people of faith, we are called to address these stark realities and be a part of the change we want to see. Many of us at Arise Chicago are being asked during the pandemic, what is happening to workers and how is Arise responding? Given that Arise Chicago's average weekly phone calls went from 25 a week to now 160, we have our finger on the pulse of what is happening. And there are 3 major trends I want to share with you. Most of our low-wage immigrant worker members were already in unsafe conditions, and COVID has made it worse. Often they hear about their coworkers getting sick or dying many days after the coworker has left. Employers are not providing proper PPE. Workers are not 6 feet apart or aren't required to wear masks. And most of all, when workers encounter someone who is COVID positive, they are not being paid for 2 weeks off, as per the CDC guidelines so that they can quarantine. In fact, that's why Arise is advocating for 2 weeks off with pay in the city of Chicago for workers whose workplaces are 50 or under because they've been left out of the CARES Act. The second trend that we're seeing is that essential low-wage workers are putting their lives in danger to support their families. With no safety net, no savings, they feel obliged to keep working. And therefore, Arise has launched a massive education campaign, creating homespun videos in English, Spanish, and Polish. And so far, we've had over 400,000 views of our videos on how to stay safe on the job. We've also created a safe return to work guide that's been picked up nationally. And we now have weekly trainings that is getting 10,000 views per week on Facebook. Be sure and link your Facebook page to ours. The third trend that we are seeing is that the workplace is indeed the epicenter, but it's not being treated like one during the pandemic. Arise has been on Zoom calls with elected leaders at the federal, state, county, and city levels to enforce the reality that the workplace is the epicenter. Arise also believes that workers need to be able to freely report and to enforce safety measures in cooperation with the public health departments like they're doing in Los Angeles. Friends, all religious traditions believe in the dignity of workers and the dignity of work. And Arise Chicago is saying in this moment, essential workers deserve essential dignity. Indeed, the veil has been lifted. And so now is the time, as the psalmist says, for righteousness and peace to kiss. Thank you to all of you who have been supporting the work of Arise Chicago. Thank you to your congregation for giving us this moment. Thank you for being witnesses to the injustice and lifting your prophetic voices so that social change can happen. Thank you for your partnership. Blessings of peace and health to all of you. Thank you.
I was raised in a blue-collar family. Organized labor made my parents' jump to the middle class possible. This gave me access to healthcare and education. When my grandmother was young, she was fired for humming while she canned pickles in a pickle factory. My earliest memories have the envelopes of Union letterhead around the house. I worked the summers in high school. My first job that wasn't babysitting was at a restaurant called Burgerville when I was 16. I'm not making that up. You should look into it. Later, I waited tables, often the graveyard shift, at a local chain. Think of Denny's, but more rundown and closer to going bankrupt. By the time I'd make it home in the mornings, my feet would be so swollen I thought they would burst. It was at that moment in my life I decided I would always tip 20%, no matter what the service was like. Later, I worked at Starbucks, arriving early to open the store, other times staying past close to clean. I've always had deep respect and appreciation for those who labor, especially those who labor on my behalf. Earlier in the pandemic, my heart broke when I read that Instacart customers would lure the shoppers with a high tip and then take it back after the groceries were delivered. It was cruel. Often, I'll see people drop a good deal of money on a meal or a personal care service only to be stingy on the tip because it's extra, and they get to decide who's worth that extra. But the tip isn't extra. Last year, Time magazine reported that starting in 1938, employers only had to pay tipped workers a wage that would add up to the federal minimum wage when combined with tips. The main federal minimum wage is $7.25 for hourly workers, and for tipped workers, it's $2.13 an hour. You can't buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks for that, and that's before taxes. Only 7 states out of 50 mandate that all workers, regardless of tips, must be paid the full state minimum wage before tips. How did we get to this bizarre and unjust practice? The answer, in short, is white supremacy. After the Emancipation Proclamation, African Americans were freed from slavery on paper, yet no one would pay them for their work. In America's long-standing tradition of building its economy on the exploitation of Black labor, people would hire Black workers as servants, waiters, barbers, railroad porters, but not pay them. The condition is that they would get a small tip. And so slavery continued, simply with a small tip added by white employers or patrons. The service industry and restaurant industry took to this well over time because employers didn't have to, and still don't, pay even the minimum wage, except in those 7 states. The practice has stuck. So tip generously and always. But let that not be enough. Labor must be reformed because this is a basic justice issue. At the heart of our Unitarian Universalist first principle is to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people. COVID is shining a light on the disparities that have been here all along. This is not new, but we can see it more clearly, those of us who might not have had access to the view. The virus shows us how we are all interconnected. When workers don't have sick time, it's not only a danger to them and their families, it's a danger to everyone. We are all connected. On this Labor Day of COVID-19, when 1/4 of laborers in our country are unemployed, and many who do have jobs work hourly on tip jobs with no paid leave, health care, please take the time to advocate for justice and public safety, because most of these workers are also oppressed by our systems of white supremacy. They are Black and people of color. Here are 3 things you can do in quarantine. Call your alderman to advocate for the passage of the Chicago Paid Emergency Sick Leave Ordinance. You can find more information at arisechicago.org. 2. Register to vote if you haven't already. If you wish to vote by mail, sign up for mail-in voting now. You have just a couple of more weeks left in the city of Chicago to register to vote by mail. Go to www.chicagoelections.gov. 3. Go to UU the Vote and find ways you can get out the vote. This is a nonpartisan voting advocacy campaign. Our UU organizers are currently looking for phone banking volunteers for Wisconsin Wednesdays, and we need your help. Visit uuthevote.org or sign up for text messages at Vote Love. To quote the late Congressman of Minnesota, Paul Wellstone, we all do better when we all do better. And we can all do better. And we must. There is too much at stake, and our lives literally depend on it.
As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, 1,000,000 darkened kitchens, 1,000 milloped gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, 1,000,000 darkened kitchens, 1,000 millopes gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we go marching, marching, we fight for children too, for they are watching, learning, and they'll make the world anew. Our lives shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses. As we go marching, marching, unnumbered women dead go crying through our singing their ancient cry for bread. Small art and love and beauty, their drudging spirits new. Yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we go marching, marching, together we stand tall. For the rising of the women means the rising of us all. No more the drudge and idler tend that toil where one reposes, but a sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, 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 bread and roses. Give us bread, but give us roses, give us bread and roses, bread and roses, bread and roses.
Close our worship with these words from W.E.B. Du Bois. Now is the accepted time, not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done, and not some future day or future year. It is today that we fit ourselves for the greater usefulness of tomorrow. Today is the seed time. Now are the hours of work, and tomorrow comes the harvest and the playtime. Our worship has ended. Our service has begun. Go forth in peace and be a blessing, and may you be blessed. Amen.